Good morning. Welcome to Advisory. Today is the last day we are going to be talking about critical thinking. Okay, this is part 3 of the 3-part lesson. So, what is critical thinking, right? We talked about this already. So, you see, infer, and share. You will learn how to see more by challenging your assumptions. So this is just asking the right questions, right? Instead of just sticking with your first instinct, asking questions will allow you to see different sides of things or like a bigger picture. Okay, infer is that we will learn how to make connections using logic and facts. And then share, you will take what you have seen and inferred and share your ideas with others. Okay, so this is a collaborative part. Okay, so critical thinking is the power to see and understand more about something. Okay, we're now going to watch a video from Maui, our buddy Maui, about this topic.
Critical thinking, it sounds like a big word, right? But don't be scared of that word. All it means is you're challenging yourself to think at a higher level. You're not going with the first answer. You're going from that 2D thinking we talked about to 3D thinking. You see it all over life, right? Employers, they don't want people to just show up and be robots. Their job, they just do what they're told and that's it. They want people with creativity, people that come up with their own ideas and answers. Same thing with school. If you look at the test that you're being asked to take now, so the standardized tests, the old days they would just say, read this passage and pick A, B, C, D, multiple choice. A lot of tests are coming up now, they will do A, B, C, D, multiple choice, but they also say, tell us where in the passage you got your answer from. Is it from here, here, or here? Because they want you to think more critically. They want you to be able to show and think, here's how I did it, right? So critical thinking is something that will help you in your classes, will help you with some of the harder tests that are coming up, and it will also prepare you to do well in your career later on.
Or these are some skills that are developed through critical thinking. So part of critical thinking is the ability to examine something, to carefully examine something. So whether it is a problem, a set of data, or a text. So that's the analysis part, right? You're examining, you're looking through data or through a text, and you do some of this in school, right? To understand something more fully. And then the communication piece is sometimes you will need to work with others to communicate effectively to figure out solutions to complex problems. So you do this in the workplace, right? You do this in the classroom, you do this in the workplace. It's something that you develop. It's the ability to communicate with others around these topics, right? Around these complex problems. The creativity piece is you might need to spot patterns in the information you're looking at, right? Or to come up with a solution that no one else has thought of yet. Okay, so this involves some creativity, a creative eye that will take a different approach from other approaches. So, problem solving is another critical thinking skill that involves analyzing a problem. You generate and implement a solution and assess the success of the plan. And then there's open mindedness. So, you will need, in order, when using critical thinking skills, it is allowing you to be more objective and it helps you to evaluate ideas without biases. So you're not just thinking from your box that you're already like the place you're already in, right? You're thinking about the possibilities of other perspectives. Okay, you're being more open to other people, what other people can bring forward, right? So these are all things that are developed. Good critical thinkers can draw reasonable conclusions from a set of information and discriminate between useful and less useful details to solve problems. Okay, so if you're well practiced in critical thinking, this is something that will allow you to draw these conclusions, right? Using these skills to determine what's useful and what's not. Okay. All right, and so there's some examples of the workplace, right? So when you want to think about this in practical terms, right? So if you're a nurse and your job is to decide which patients should be treated first. When you think of COVID, right? COVID, when we think of it when it first started and hospitals were being overrun, it was super essential that a triage nurse was able to say, these are the cases that need to be looked at first. Okay, these are the patients that need to be treated first and foremost based on their data, right? And where they were at. Okay, so that's an example of using critical thinking. You're not just looking at what's in front of you, you're taking all of these other things into consideration. Okay, and in a plumber's situation, so if you were a plumber, part of your job would be to evaluate the materials that would best suit a particular job because every household will be different. Every problem you have to solve is going to be a little different. So, what do you need to do in order to best solve the problem at hand? Okay. For an example, an attorney, okay? So an attorney's job would be to review the evidence and devise a strategy to win a case, okay? So the reviewing the evidence, that critical thinking is essential for this attorney to make a decision, okay? And if you're a manager, any kind of manager, a part of your job would be to analyze customer feedback forms, okay? So these forms are telling somebody these are the things that are working, these are the things that not, and then a manager would use that information to develop a customer service training session so that those employees, the people in the workplace, are able to meet the needs of their customers based on these feedback forms. Okay, so these are all examples of how critical thinking is used in the workplace. We already know we do critical thinking in the classroom. Okay, your teachers are encouraging you all the time to think differently about things. Okay, introducing new ways of thinking. And that's important because this is training you essentially to be able to be in a workplace setting and use these skills to solve the problems that you have day to day. Okay, so what I want you to do now is reflect and discuss. So we've already talked about these things. We've already talked about like what's made a big impact on you in terms of technology and other times when you've had to use critical thinking. But now I just want you to use this the rest of the time in the class to think about all that you've learned in these 3 lessons, how it applies to you now, okay? And just talk about these questions, right? So what changes have you seen in your lifetime that have made a big impact on you? And then talk about a time when you've had to use 3D thinking, okay, just to solve an issue or a problem. Okay, because critical thinking is like putting on a pair of like special glasses, okay, that show you the world in a different way, okay? Critical thinkers don't accept the world as it is. They ask questions in order to expand their minds. Okay, so thinking critically will enable you to adapt to a rapidly changing world, right? We talked about the old world and the new world and how much things have changed over those years. So, as a class, again, I'm going to give you the rest of the time to discuss this. However your teacher wants to do it. You want to discuss as a big group, small groups, whatever that looks like. Think about what you've learned through these 3 lessons about critical thinking and how you apply it day to day, okay? Thanks, guys. See you next time.